may have noticed that this is not my normal place at the pulpit, and that's because we have canceled worship for today, February 16th, 2025, because the weather is, well, we'll just say it's unique. We're getting a massive snowstorm right now. We might have some mixed precipitation later on today. The roads aren't great, and it's snowing and blowing. So that's why everything here looks a little bit different. But let me get started with the sermon. From time to time, we can all use a dad joke or two. Courtesy of the Nature Conservancy, I've got some nature-themed ones to share with you today. Here's the first one. Are you ready? Nature is so resourceful, it can make do with just water. And here's one for those who can't wait for summer. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. And here are a few that are nature and ocean themed. Why was the whale sad? It lost its porpoise. Why do crabs never give to charity? Because they're shellfish. The sea cucumber turns to the octopus and sea urchin and says, with friends like these, who needs anemones? Okay, enough of those. They need to make like a tree and leaf. Well, maybe just one more. What do you think? It's about a tree. The sermon is about how we can be like a tree. It works, right? Okay, here it goes. A forester is walking through the forest, and a tree yells, "Stop! You can't cut me down. I'm a talking tree." And the forester responds, "Yeah, and you'll die a log." This time I'm serious. They can make like a tree and get out of here. No more dad jokes. But that doesn't mean we're done talking about trees or shrubs. Let's begin with shrubs, those woody stemmed perennials that can be deciduous or evergreen. If we want to be like them, it's easy. We only need to place our trust in men, mere mortals, and turn our hearts away from God. When we do that, we are warned, life will be difficult. But what does that mean? One could argue, well, shrubs are living things. They survive in harsh conditions. Take, for example, the creosote bush that lives in Joshua Tree National Park, where average precipitation, rain and snow for a year is just 7 inches. The creosote bush was so successful in its adaptation to scarce water that it is, according to the National Park Service, and I have to read this, the largest and most conspicuous plant of our desert landscape. Now that sounds pretty good until you look at what it takes to survive in those conditions. Only a few of the many seeds produced when it flowers are able to germinate. They are slow growing. A 1-foot-high creosote bush is at least 10, not months, but years old. And it takes decades for them to repopulate, something like 30 to 90 years for one seedling to clone, which is when the old branches die, the stem crown splits into separate independent stem crowns, and mounds form. So, yeah, it survives. But that doesn't mean that it's an easy life. Like shrubs, we can survive in harsh conditions too. In fact, I think we're doing that today. It's cold, it's snowing, the wind is blowing. It's pretty harsh outside today. But that's today, and we know tomorrow will be different. If we had to live in these conditions every day, we would barely survive. I've used examples related to weather, it's on my mind, but also because the passage contrasts shrubs and trees. And we'll get to the trees shortly. But at the heart of this scripture reading is trust. Where should we put our trust if we want to not just survive, but thrive? Who should we have faith in? Who can we believe in? It would be easy to interpret cursed are those who trust in mere mortals and make mere flesh their strength, as we should never trust anyone. If we live that way, though, There would be no reason for nations to have allies. There would be no reason for us to sign contracts. And we might think, I'm good. I could do things on my own. I don't need anyone else. And I have to say in particular, that last one resonates with me. But what this scripture is saying is that we shouldn't place our trust, our faith, solely, wholeheartedly, absolutely, in any of these things. How many times have we placed our trust in someone, only to be let down because they failed to do what they say or said they were going to do? And we were confronted with the realization, again, that we're all human. We're not infallible or almighty. How many times have we thought, we signed a contract. The other party is going to live up to the terms. Well, that doesn't always happen, does it? And if it did, we wouldn't need civil courts. And how many times have we thought, I've got this, or I can do it? Maybe we said that to our parents or a spouse, only to find out, nope, we are going to need some help. It's true, many hands make light work. It's also true that the one thing, the only thing we can place our trust in is God. Our hearts should belong to God and only God. If you want to get technical, we're commanded to do that, to love God with all our heart, soul, and might in Deuteronomy. When we place our trust in God, life is very different, isn't it? It may not be what we expect. Only a few weeks ago I said, if you want to see God laugh, make plans. But that doesn't mean we're living only in survival, or what I'm going to call shrub mode. Because, as the scripture tells us, blessed are those who trust in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. They shall be like a tree planted by water. When we trust in God, things are better. Trees that are planted by water are sustained by the water they take up in their roots. It's this water that keeps their leaves from dying and allows them to bear fruit. The same is true for us. When we live our lives and our roots, our foundation is our relationship with God, we are nourished. That doesn't mean there won't be any droughts. We won't ever face adversity or challenges, but that when those times come, we needn't despair. Now, I want to be careful here. Taken in isolation, this passage could be used by those who don't trust in, put their faith in, or believe in God to justify not doing so. They might say, well, look at this person or that person. They aren't Christian. In fact, all they do is sin, and they aren't cursed. Nothing ever happens to them. Everything they do turns out great. And well, look at Job. He was righteous. He trusted in God. He placed his full faith in God. And where did it land him? Well, I can't deny it. Initially, it landed Job in a world of hurt, with every imaginable hardship possible. But that's not where the story of Job ended, is it? No, it ended in blessing and abundance. Sometimes the faithful suffer, but that doesn't mean God isn't right there with them in that suffering. God is their strength, their comfort, their grace in that suffering. And to have God with us during those times, that's a blessing. It's the water to the tree. So each day, we have a choice to make. Are we going to be shrubs? That's a tongue twister. Are we going to be shrubs? Do we want to barely survive, to just eke out an existence? Or do we want to be trees? Do we want to thrive, to be nourished in a loving relationship with our Creator? The choice is ours, and it starts with deciding who to place our trust in. Everyone, be safe out there. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week.